you are Vladimir Putin, you would have to be a suicidal moron to blow up your own energy pipelines. That's the one thing you would never do. Natural gas pipelines are the main source of your power and your wealth, and most critically, your leverage over other countries.
Do you remember that? Yeah, Tucker was right. And this is The Break. Folks, remember to like, comment, and subscribe if you like me and you like what we do here. And if you love it, you can also become a Daily Caller Patriot. There's a link in that description below. Make sure you check it out. Lots of great stuff. All right, so full clip of Tucker, who, by the way, folks, he is the Daily Caller co-founder, so even more reason to be a Daily Caller Patriot. Roll the clip.
It is true that blowing up Nord Stream does not help Vladimir Putin. He would not do that. Why would he? But that doesn't mean that other countries wouldn't consider doing it. They would consider it, and we know they have considered it because at least one of them has said so in public. In early February, less than 3 weeks before the war in Ukraine began, Joe Biden suggested on camera that he might take out these pipelines.
If Russia invades, there will be no longer a Nord Stream 2. We will bring an end to it.
How will you do that, since the project and control of the project is within Germany's control?
We will, I promise you, we'll be able to do it.
So the Washington Post now reporting that Ukrainian officials were allegedly involved in blowing up the Nord Stream pipeline. And it's almost like something has shifted, right? Now corporate media can finally go in on scrutinizing Ukraine, right? Scrutinizing things we've been told, questioning what has been going on for 2 years. I mean, look at this headline, right? The Washington Post went from don't talk about the Nord Stream pipeline to Ukraine may have blown up the Nord Stream pipeline. And remember, those on the right who were even suggesting this could be a possibility, they were crazy, right? I mean, remember this crazy guy?
I can tell you who it wasn't, was Russia. How about when they blamed Russia? You know, they said Russia blew up their own pipeline. You got a kick out of that one, too. It wasn't Russia. So I won't answer the question only because I don't want to get our country any deeper than they already are.
And you know, it almost feels like the pipeline was purposely destroyed, then the blame was pinned on someone else, so that the media could then peddle out this false narrative, remember, without talking about any other possibilities, so they could help the United States government push yet another endless war, right? A pit for American tax dollars to go to fuel the destruction of the United States and turn us into a globalist society. Don't think so? Then tell me, why was our Secretary of State, Antony Blinken, celebrating the bombing of one of Germany's energy sources as a, quote, tremendous opportunity?
This is also a tremendous opportunity. It's a tremendous opportunity to, once and for all, remove the dependence on Russian energy, and thus to take away from Vladimir Putin the weaponization of energy as a means of advancing his imperial designs.
This is so rich, right? So he says that now that the pipeline has been blown up, we can stop letting Putin weaponize energy. I mean, this is rich, right? This is coming from a man who was part of an administration that is funding the very country that literally allegedly blew the pipeline up for political purposes to then weaponize opposition against Russia to get more United States tax dollars. But he wasn't the only one. Take a listen to this other Biden official.
Senator Cruz, like you, I am, and I think the administration is very gratified to know that Nord Stream 2 is now, as you like to say, a hunk of metal at the bottom of the sea.
Yeah, this is amazing. And now they're telling us, if you read the Washington Post story, that this was, a serious threat. Right. Different tune. Amazing. Just remember this. Next time you go out and vote for a Democrat or even a Republican that isn't offering to cut aid to Ukraine, we're not allowing ourselves to cut aid to a country that allegedly blew up a pipeline. They want to bring us into World War III. Now, I want Chinese President Xi Jinping to do a 50-state tour of the United States, not because I want him to, visit the Confucius Institutes or one of the several areas in which Beijing police have basically a controlled police state spying on Americans. No, it is because I want to have clean streets. So this is what San Francisco looked like about 2 weeks ago, and this is what it looks like now.
Here we are, downtown San Francisco.
So the Chinese president is coming, so they decided they would clear the streets out to make it presentable. And how are city officials making this happen? Because remember, we were told this could not happen, right? This was the reality that San Francisco's had to live with.
Scrubbing and power washing is happening all over the city.
Yeah, the bottom of my shoes look clean.
It's noticeable how clear the streets look and how few homeless encampments there are on major thoroughfares. And city officials are saying that there are no additional funds that are being allocated for beautification. Departments are just using existing budgets.
Interesting. So officials managed to clean San Francisco within days using a budget that they already have because a bunch of communists are coming to town. Honestly, if that's what it takes for local officials to clean the city, then she come to the Big Apple. All right, there are 5 boroughs, so make it a 5-day trip. But in all seriousness, you know what this video tells us? It's not like we didn't know it already, but it just again confirms it, right? The government is taking your tax dollars, hiding them away, right? Not using them for what they are supposed to be used for, and then saving it for a rainy day when there's political purposes here, right? But why does the government do this? I mean, not just with San Francisco, with everything, because they know they can. To quote the late Congressman John Randolph of Virginia, he said back in 1806, "Those who disperse the money are like a saucy boy who knows his grandfather will gratify him and overturns the sum allowed him at pleasure." Now, that quote is in relation to spending, but it fits here because the government is this little saucy boy who will do what he pleases, right? At his own pleasure, spend what he can because he knows that his grandfather, us, the taxpayers, will foot the bill, right? We just can't say no. And look, mainly it's because taxpayers don't want the IRS to throw them in jail, right? But because they have been told that, it is their half of the social contract to pay their taxes. But Big Brother doesn't ever uphold his end. We always pay our taxes, but what do we get in return? We get blowing up Nord Stream pipelines, right? Another thing, they moved out the homeless, they moved out those individuals struggling with addiction. San Francisco knows how to enforce laws to keep these people off the streets, put them where they're supposed to be, right? But they choose not to. The decline of urban areas, it is a choice. It is not a default, right? And it is a choice at the expense of the American taxpayers. Now, folks, I want to show you guys a video that is truly so hard to stomach.
Oh my God.
So that is a white teenager who was literally beaten to death by a group of black kids. Now, you're probably asking, why is she injecting race into this? And I bring up race because the media isn't. Isn't it amazing how when something like this happens, it's relatively cricket? But let it be, for instance, a black teen girl who gets shot by a white police officer after she lunges at another girl with a knife. I'm talking about Ma'Khia Bryant. I know that was a while ago. It's national news for days, right? Racism. Black girl killed by white cop. That is always the headline. I mean, even recently, I showed you guys that video of the incident in Georgia, right?
Yep. Yep.
It was framed as, white cop shoots black man that just got out of jail. Really, it was white cop shoots black man that was choking him on the side of the street. But when this type of situation happens over in Nevada, nothing. So 17-year-old Jonathan Lewis, he allegedly saw a friend who was much smaller than him getting robbed by this mob of teen thugs. And he apparently tried to step in because someone was being bullied. And that's when these kids savagely beat him to death. And there is so much wrong here, right? First, it's the teen themselves who beat him up. Where are your morals? How were these kids raised? You beat the life out of someone your age laughing because your friends were cheering you on, right? Why does something like this happen? Because there are no punishments for anything. These kids don't fear authority, right? Then there are the teens who filmed it. It's cool for social media, right? Same way those two punks, you remember seeing they murdered the man who was riding his bicycle recently, and they filmed it because they thought that filming murder would get them clout on the internet. Social media isn't real life, right? It is poisoning the minds of our youths. It distorts things that are important. Morals, justice, what's right, you name it, that is not prevalent on social media, right? It's distorting our culture. And lastly, there is a school at which this happened, right? A government-run school, and a kid gets murdered on school grounds? Why? Where were the teachers and supervisors? What is the culture of this community of students, right? This is such a tragedy that should never have occurred for so many reasons, right? And it starts at home, okay? Because someone like myself who was raised by parents who were caring and nurturing would never go out and beat up another student. But a child who is raised by parents who are not there, who don't care, who don't take an interest, who neglect their child, that leads to bigger issues. And I'm not saying all these children had those kinds of parents. Maybe none of them did. Maybe this was a literal fluke. But you got to wonder about that. 2, why are these kids, why do they feel so brazen and emboldened to beat another child up, right? And again, I have to bring it back to the parents. I would never lay hands on another person unless they put their hands on me first. And even then, honestly, I probably wouldn't even hit them back. So where are they getting the idea that this is condonable behavior? Again, I just bring it up to, what is the society that we're not only raising our current youth in, but that, my generation will be putting children into, right? I don't want my children growing up in a world where I have to send them to a government-run school. They can possibly get murdered on school grounds because there is no accountability from teachers, from principals on students when they have bad behavior. I mean, kids used to get hit with the ruler back, decades ago. My dad experienced it, right? And it works. It helps. It scares the kids. Sometimes you have to scare them, right? They're just children. They need to have their mind molded, and that means punishing them for bad behavior. So just a tragic story that we're seeing here, and so many questions about what has gone wrong with society and with these teens who, by the way, I believe police said that some of them will be charged with murder. So that is a great development on behalf of the poor victim's family, but nothing's going to bring their son back. And they're going to have to watch this video for the rest of their lives, knowing their son's death is out there on the internet. And I just showed it because it's so important for people to see what happens when you have a failed parenting society, right? When you have a failed cultural society. Folks, we will have more for you tomorrow right here on The Brink. And remember to like, comment, and subscribe. Share this with your friends, with your haters. Share it with anyone. We'll see you back here tomorrow.